fun day we got out here. This is the pinnacle of my RC. As a kid in 1989, this is a Kyosho Turbo Optima Mid SE. Fully authentic, not a single screw on this thing that isn't vintage. I did change out the tires just because the original tires and wheels that came with the car, I never even used them because I put some clay tires on and ran this thing on the track back in the 80s. And so those are 100% pristine, so I didn't want to mess those up. Everything else in the car, folks, fresh off the kit from 1989. So we're gonna try and get this thing to run today and see how we do. What a beautiful car. This is pretty exciting. All right, guys, this car is 32 years old. Hasn't been run for 30 years. It's been sitting in a box for 30 years. So here we go. And nothing. So after 30 years, it looks like we're dead and we're gonna have to do some wrenching. All right, here we go. Take two, let's try it again. No forward, we got no throttle. Oh. We've got reverse, but no forward. Oh, God. That sounds terrible. Okay, everyone, after 30 years of sitting in a box, it's no big surprise this car didn't start right up. Had to pull some electronics out and put some new stuff in. End of the video, you can check out what we pulled out, what we put in. Maybe someone has some interest in refurbishing that old stuff. But here we go. Let's see if we can knock 30 years of rust off this car. And she is running. How about it? That's pretty exciting stuff for me. If you're not over the age of 40, you probably have no idea what this car is, but this was the ultimate car for me as a kid. This is 100% authentic, right down to the last screw in here. We did have to do some electronic changing. Struggled with the ESC, struggles with the motor, struggles with the transmitter, so let's call this actually a roller chassis Turbo Optima Mid. Here's a fun comparison, guys. This is a Kraton EXB 6S up against the Turbo Optima Mid from 1989. There's quite a difference in cars here. I'm not joking. I don't think that Turbo Optima Mid fully loaded weighs as much as the Kraton 6S battery. Feels totally different, just different style of RC over the years. What a blast it is to get this car out and get it running. It's gonna be cleaned up, put on the shelf as kind of a show car after this. I have no idea what part availability is, so we're not gonna damage any parts or do anything crazy with this car. So what you notice first about driving this 1990s, 80s style car is just how high they sit, how high the weight is distributed. It has that unbelievable lightweight feel that, you know, a modern sort of track car like a Losi or a Team Associated would have, but they got the weight now so much lower and centered. Here, it's all sitting up so high and you can really feel that weight difference. It just drives and feels so much different than a modern car. I'm not gonna do much with this because obviously I don't want to damage anything here. Okay guys, as noted, we had to do some pretty serious electronics gutting of this car in order to get him running. This is what came out and what went in the end. This is the original speed control right here, so anybody who hasn't seen one of these, this is a mechanical speed control that's controlled by a servo, so you had two servos in these cars, and it basically rotated. This used to mount up here, in here, and this thing works, still would work. We only had reverse at first, but we cleaned up some contacts and got it working. So that's the first bit that we replaced. This was the Kyosho Pulsar Pro receiver. We replaced that with a Spectrum that's about a fraction of the size.
This didn't work at all, either this or the transmitter. I'm not sure which one was shot. We replaced the motor. This is the Lemans 240 ST that came with the car. Brushes look good on this, but the bearings seem to be shot, and this thing was really struggling overall, so just replace that with another standard brush motor for the run. And the Chaos 88B servos from Kyosho from all the way back in the day. This one was shot that was running the speed control, but there is actually another one in the car right there, old school, that did run, that controlled the steering. So that actually worked. And then we put a few little modifications on here just to hold a 2-cell square LiPo pack, but otherwise the rest of that car was authentic and original, but we did electronics, got it. Well, I appreciate going down memory lane with me on this. This car was so much fun. What a blast. You can tell this is in absolute mint condition. I didn't have the courage to do much with this as a kid. I spent so much money on it from a kid standpoint that I didn't want anything to happen to it. The aluminum chassis underneath, you can see, I mean, I got like 2 or 3 scratches on there at most. Everything else on this car is just pristine. You can see though, I mean, this car is in great shape and still runs great in comparison to new modern cars. There's not much difference here. The biggest difference is just the electronics. That's kind of what's transformed RC over all these years. This thing's just light as a feather. If you could put a drivetrain in here that could take a brushless system for sure and not worry about the damage, this thing would scream. It's carbon fiber shock tower. As you can see, the carbon fiber chassis plate here. It's even got the carbon fiber look. It's really cool. Belt drive inside the plastic case there. Aluminum, as I said, is aluminum chassis down below. Tires, man, I didn't touch these things as described. They came off the car almost right away, so those are just in absolute mint condition. Yeah, this car's in great shape. Loved it. Got some little doohickeys here that I just added in order to take on a 2S LiPo, but we're going to take those off, clean the car up, put it together for a little showpiece on the wall. That was fun.